It is literally 3 in the morning right now.
Moves I can keep a peanut butter skin, baby. You like me, I like the way you work it. If you lay me down, I can show you that I'm worth it. But
before I get started on this video, I just want to say I finally have a very small kind of studio space, which is a work in progress, but I do have a desk and a new shelf, which I'm obsessed with, and I'm slowly putting this room together to be my filming area. I've really been wanting to make more videos that are personal and just kind of fill you guys in with what's going on in my life, especially for those of you guys who have been following me since I initially launched my YouTube channel like 8 years ago. I think the last time I made a video where I was just kind of like sitting down vlogging was when I lived in New York. And the crazy thing is that I watched this video like the other week and I had a fucking accent, like a weird Baltimore accent, which I do not think exists anymore. Thank God. So today I'm going to talk about what I do for a living, what my job is, because I've actually gotten this question over and over and over again. I am not a full-time YouTuber. It would be really awesome to get to that point, and I think I would really enjoy it, but right now I do have a job and I do hate it. So I'm going to tell you what my job is and why I hate it. So basically, when I was 18 in college, I started working in nightlife, and for the past 10 years, I have been working in various sections of nightlife, and most recently, I've been bartending. And I started bartending when I was in New York. I think I was about 23 years old. When I first moved to New York, I was working for a stylist as an intern. And then after that, I did do a 7 to 8 month internship for a fashion designer, actually a jewelry designer, who's still a very good friend of mine. And after I did my internship with her, I did PR for her as a full-time job. And while I was doing that, I was still bartending on the weekends. I think for years and years when I lived in Baltimore, I had this fantasy of moving to New York and getting a job in the fashion industry and it just being so glamorous and so amazing. And when I ultimately did do that, it just wasn't fulfilling to me and it really wasn't what I wanted to be doing. So after about a year working in fashion, I basically quit my job and I just started bartending full-time because before that I was working like 40 to 50 hours a week, and then I was bartending on weekends, and sometimes I would pick up extra shifts during the week just to make a little bit of extra money, and it was just burning me out so badly. So for the last maybe 2.5 years when I was in New York, I was just strictly bartending, and I also picked up a bunch of random freelance jobs, whether it was a smaller freelance fashion job, or some kind of production job. I also did production for a couple of larger music festivals like Electric Zoo in New York, which I believe is still a thing. I also worked at South by Southwest a couple years in Austin. I've actually gotten a couple of jobs from YouTube at South by Southwest, actually 2 jobs. My first one was working for Levi's, and that was back in, I think that was back in like 2008. Like 9 years ago. And then I worked at South by Southwest again a couple years ago working for FX, the TV channel or the TV production company or whatever you want to call it. But other than that, I was just bartending. So when I moved to Los Angeles, I got a job in a restaurant lounge in West Hollywood, and I still currently work there. It's kind of like a modern Mexican restaurant that turns into a lounge, and it's pretty high volume, and I wouldn't describe it as a nightclub, but it definitely like attracts the same type of clientele. And then I also work at another club in Hollywood that just recently opened up. For the most part, I have always bartended in high volume venues and mostly nightclubs. When I was living in New York, I was doing like 5 to 6 nights of bartending a week, which is a fucking lot. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, I decided to kind of take a step back, and I was doing 4 nights a week, but now I'm actually working 2 days a week. And I know that probably sounds like not a lot of work to you guys, and the reality is it's not that much work. I can totally handle it, but I still feel super burned out. And now I'm at the point in my life where I really feel like I need to figure out what I'm super passionate about and just explore those things. So basically, that's what I do. I'm sorry if this is a letdown to a lot of you guys that were expecting me to be like a porn star, but I am actually just a bartender. And to a lot of you guys, bartending might seem like a really cool job. Obviously, it can be really laid back. You have the capacity to make your own schedule. It can be a very creative job as well. The bar that I am currently working at is focused on craft cocktails, so we use a lot of fresh fruit and herbs. I actually just had a very small dinner party in my house last night. It was like 6 people, and I made fresh orange and sage margaritas, and they were really, really amazing. And that kind of stuff is still fun to me. So the creative part of bartending is still fun to me, but every single other thing about it is not fun at all. In fact, I've gotten to the point where I literally dread going into my job. Part of the reason that I feel this way is because when I'm at work, I feel like I'm literally living a lie. And I don't know if you guys can relate to that, or you guys have ever had a job where you just feel like the job is not true to yourself, but that's how I feel when I go to work. And this is part of what I have such a huge problem with. It's like every time I go to work now, I feel like I'm putting on this facade that is just not true to how I feel in the moment. You know, obviously I'm expected to be positive and uplifting and entertaining, and it's just really gotten to the point where I don't feel like that at all. And it's so hard for me to, you know, mimic those feelings on the outside when I'm just not feeling that way on the inside. And so it just feels like a huge lie to me. Another thing that I can't stand is that I actually do lie to people when they ask me for menu suggestions. And a lot of you guys are gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? But if you do not know, then I've been a vegetarian since I was 6 years old. Well, my diet is actually kind of complicated and hard to explain, but I do not eat meat, and I have not eaten meat since I was 6 years old. So obviously, working in a restaurant, I have to give menu recommendations all the time, and it's just honestly a huge pain in the ass to tell every single person that I meet that I don't eat meat. It would just be so annoying to have to explain that over and over and over again, because I literally have this conversation probably with like 20 different guests every night. So I've developed this system that when people ask me what I recommend on the menu, I just tell them what I know other people like and what I know sells and what I know is popular. But I feel like I say it in a way that is really disingenuous to my entire lifestyle and what I believe in and just my everyday way of living. I'm not saying that I have a problem with anybody eating meat. This is a personal decision for me. So I really do not like that aspect at all. And aside from all of that, I really just feel like super drained from having to have conversations with so many people in a night. As a bartender, I feel like when somebody is at your bar, you are an easy target when somebody wants to have a conversation, but they don't have anybody to converse with. Sometimes, you know, you just don't want to hear everyone's entire life story and like all the negative things that are happening in their life. And I'm not saying every conversation is like that, because it's not. But there are times when I've been like, listen, I'm not your therapist, but if you need one, I can recommend one to you, or maybe you can go to mine. I also don't want to give you guys the impression that I'm like a horrible, mean person, because I'm not. On top of that, of course, you know, you do get those asshole customers at bars, which I actually feel like I'm really good at dealing with because I have been doing this for so long. You know, there are guys that hit on you, and there are people that hit on you in an inappropriate way, and it's not even something that offends me. It's just frankly something at this point that's really annoying. There is a correct way to give a female a compliment, and there is an incorrect way to give a female a compliment. And if you do the latter, then I am not going to be nice to you, and I am not going to serve you a drink, and you are going to look like a huge asshole. And then there's, of course, the really, really drunk person, which doesn't happen so often working in a restaurant, but still definitely does happen. And you just have to deal with things that you don't want to deal with. I have dealt with people throwing up on my bar, people throwing up on their friends at the bar, you know, people just too drunk to even walk out of the bar. And I don't have to deal with those kinds of things on a regular basis, but in general, I just really feel like it has become a job that is totally draining for me. But I will say, even after all of that, I do, in general, really enjoy the people that I work with, and I do meet interesting people, and I do have interesting conversations, and there are still, you know, beneficial elements of working in hospitality because, like I said, you are basically able to make your own schedule. It's really easy to take time off if you need to. The money is always consistent. I feel like a very large percentage of people have at one point had a job in hospitality. So if you guys have ever worked in a restaurant or a nightclub or a lounge or whatever, then feel free to leave your experiences in the comment section below because I would love to hear about them. Okay, I feel like this video has been going on for a really long time and I need to end it. And another thing about making these vlog videos is that I never know like a good way to just be like, all right, peace. I feel like I have to do like an introduction and then like a formal outro. And I feel like the sun is going to rise in like an hour, which is always weird. Even though from working in nightlife for so long, it's not that weird because there have been so many nights where I've left work and people are literally going to work. More so in New York because bars close at 4 and in LA it's 2, but I still get home sometimes at like 5 a.m. here, which is something that I am also just so fucking over. I've definitely had a very unusual sleep schedule for the last 10 or so years, which is probably also one of the reasons why I am deficient in vitamin D because I never see the light of day. If you hate your job, give this video a thumbs up because I feel you. I look forward to seeing you guys in the very near future. And thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon.